Hello everyone, we're group 6 personalities and this is our GE presentation on Chanel perfume. Our group members are Sophie Deby, Lynn Stolt, Tess Van Oostrom,
Ricardo Hinojoa Fanu.
Benjamin Weaver, and Julian Shi. This is our agenda. First off, we're going to talk about the company background, the message to the audience, then move to roots of persuasion, our research, reflections, and finally our recommendations. First is the company background. Chanel was founded in 1913 by Gabrielle Coco Chanel, and they entered the perfume industry in 1921 with Chanel No. 5 perfume. Before this, they were mainly in sportswear and the fashion industry. Chanel experienced a rise to fame in 1954 when Marilyn Monroe famously said, "All I wear to bed is a few drops of Coco Chanel perfume." This skyrocketed Chanel's popularity and it resulted in a loss of exclusivity. Without this exclusivity, Chanel perfume seemed much less important, and to return this exclusivity, they made Chanel perfume much more difficult to acquire. The main competitors are Gucci, Prada, and Louis Vuitton. The message. The main message Chanel wants to convey is that in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. Chanel believes that a positive attitude is much more persuasive. They were named the most influential luxury brand by Insight Pool in 2017. Their main advertising strategies are using social media and creating videos to help sell their products. The audience. Chanel's main audience is women 18 to 40 with more disposable income. Chanel has very high brand loyalty and long-term customers, as most customers own multiple perfumes when they purchase Chanel. Chanel also wants customers to align with their brand image, and their brand image is elegant, timeless, stylish, and fashionable. Moving on to the roots of persuasion. One of the roots of persuasion Chanel uses is advertisements with quote-unquote perfect people. This plays to our insecurities and makes us feel that if we were to purchase this product, it would make us feel a little bit closer to perfect. Chanel also uses normative social influence. Through this, Chanel creates an exclusive Chanel user in group and a less luxurious non-Chanel users out group. So people feel less important when they're part of the out group. Another root of persuasion that Chanel uses is the scarcity principle. To a lot of people, things that are rare are perceived as more valuable. So this means Chanel tries to make their perfume difficult to acquire through two main techniques. The first being the limited number technique, meaning Chanel sells a very low amount of the said perfume. And the second is the fast approaching deadline, meaning you only have a certain amount of time to purchase their perfume. The last root of persuasion is the source of the advertisement. A source can either be perceived as credible or not credible, and these depend on two main factors: trustworthiness and expertise. Chanel uses either experts or models who are very physically attractive to make their source seem much more credible. Chanel uses multiple routes of persuasion in a single advertisement to make it more persuasive.
So now, when we did our research in which we did the survey, we were able to get 71 respondents, and 87% of them were under the age of 24. When we delved into the demographics more deeply, we found that the large majority of people were from Europe and North America, and specifically 55% of them were Caucasian. So when considering that going into our survey, we saw that our survey was a little skewed in terms of the data of who we were polling. So now, when we did our research on how people felt towards the brand of Chanel before we showed them the advertisements, we were able to get quite alarming results. So we found that 38% of people felt they were interested towards Chanel, 32% felt confident towards Chanel, which meant that these were positive feelings that they felt towards the brand of Chanel, and which was indicated through that the strongest attitudes towards Chanel were mainly the positive feelings. However, if you were to look at the yellow graph, you can see that the largest amount or the largest quantity that people felt were mainly the negative attitudes. So when we asked them the same question after showing the advertisements, we can see that there was an increase of positive emotions across the board. Specifically, the feeling of joy, we saw an increase of 28%, and the feeling of interest was an increase by 7%, and which caused a decrease in all these negative emotions. Lastly, when we asked them how they felt or how much more likely they were to purchase the Chanel perfume, we saw that the likelihood to purchase increased from 35% to 49%, and there was a decrease in the lack of interest by 13%, which means that the advertisements were working and people were more persuaded to purchase Chanel products after they saw the advertisements. Now, looking in the reflection on how we did and what challenges we faced, when creating the survey, we found that there were select advertisements were too long in duration. Some of Chanel's advertisements were 15 to 20-minute long mini movies, and we found them unsuitable or not suitable for our survey takers to watch, as it'd be too long for them to watch. And we also saw that Chanel utilized lots of still images, and we found them difficult to use because we didn't know how much feeling or how strong of an emotion they would be able to convey. So it was quite of a struggle to find the adequate images. And another challenge that we faced was that perfume was heavily skewed towards women, and there weren't that many male perfumes that we could use to show our audience or survey takers. So that would isolate half the population. And lastly, due to the fact that 87% of our survey takers were under the age of 24, the brand itself, Chanel, was not relatable because it was just such a high price and luxury brand. Now, going to our recommendations on what we can do better when doing the project, we saw that we could definitely have improved the survey to reduce uncertainty. So when asking survey takers, we gave them a lot of choices, which increased uncertainty and increased doubt, which led us to have not the best answers, although they were still usable. And we should have definitely have included more perfume for men so as to include them or make them more active in the survey taking process. And lastly, we should have asked more questions to gather additional insights on attitudes towards Chanel. When we did our survey, we only asked their feelings and how much more likely they were to purchase Chanel. I feel like we definitely should have been able to go deeper and delve deeper into their thoughts and actions. But in conclusion, we feel like Chanel is doing a great job in persuading their audience, as indicated by our survey. We saw a 14% jump from people who watched who didn't watch the advertisements to watching the advertisements. So Chanel's doing a great job, and they're doing great in persuading people to purchase their products. So this is Group 6 Personalities, and we thank you for listening to us.
Thank you. Here's our references.